So it seems like the moment I decided to start recording this episode was the same time that people decided that they wanted to be outside mowing the lawns. All the kids came outside to play. So if you guys are hearing background noises, I do apologize, but that's not going to stop me from getting into this topic right now in the here and now. So without any further ado, welcome to episode number, I don't even know at this point. But welcome to another episode of the Champagne Diamonds podcast. I am your host, Nadine Russell, and today we're talking about failure. Welcome to the Champagne Diamonds podcast. I am your host, Nadine Russell, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. This podcast was created for queens, women who are ready to step into their power, women who are looking towards their vision and embracing the journey along the way. Women who are ready to be unapologetic about being their authentic selves. If this is you, keep listening. What's up, Queen? Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for another episode of the Champagne Diamonds podcast. Today we're talking about failure, and I gotta be real with y'all. I'm a failure. I am. But you know what? I've accepted that. And by the end of this episode, you'll understand a little bit more why I can say that and accept it and not feel as emotionally charged towards it as I felt before. Because let me tell you the truth. Failure is something that we all experience. And I really had to unpack what failure really meant to me and really ask myself why I don't want to feel like a failure. Because you see, failure is a word that has such a negative connotation. It carries so much negative energy and so much negative emotion. And I thought about looking up the definition of it before I came on to give you guys like a real clear, accurate understanding of the word and what it means. But I said, you know what, I'm gonna just get on and just talk about how I view failure. And maybe you guys can relate to me in this sense. I'd really love to hear more about what you think about failure. So definitely hit me up on Instagram at Entice the Brand and send me a message. Let me know if you're listening to this episode, what failure really means to you, or post it on your stories, make a post on Instagram, tag me in it. I'd love to hear more about your views about failure. If you're watching this on YouTube, you already know what to do. Just go ahead, drop it in the comments, because I was going through a really, really rough past few weeks, and I was still overcoming it. I was still going through the process. I was still trusting the journey. But when it got to the nitty gritty of the situation, I got really emotional. And I was talking to my mom and I said to her, I said, Mom, I just feel like a failure. And I was very, very emotional. And I'm someone that talks quite a bit about failure and how failure is really just a stepping stone to success. And the only real true failure that we experience is when we give up. So going back to what I was saying when I was talking to my mom, I said, man, I just kind of feel like a failure. And I had to catch myself. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who support you and people who believe in you more than you believe in yourself. Because when you get to losing my voice there. When you get to those points where you don't feel strong and you don't feel like you can keep moving forward and you question where you are, these are the people that are going to uplift you. These are the people that are going to pull you up out of that, and they're going to encourage you and they're going to speak life into you. Because let's be real, life is not always easy. We face challenges and we face obstacles. Most of the greatest people on this earth that we look up to with such admiration and respect have gone through difficulties. One of my favorite examples of this is Oprah Winfrey. She went through so many hardships and so many difficulties in order to become the woman that she is today. In order to have the empire that she has today, she went through it. When we look at Jim Carrey and what he was able to accomplish in his career, he went through it. He failed. But the thing is that he believed. He never stopped believing in himself. There's so many I can point out that failed, that started off and had challenges, and they had so many difficulties that they had to face. There was obstacles, mental, emotional, financial. There were so many things that they had to face to overcome in this life. And the thing is if you are in a point where you feel like you want to give up, and you're just looking at all the obstacles and all the failures and all the disappointments and all the struggles that you've had, and you're asking yourself why, I want to really encourage you, because the people with really, really big struggles are often the people who see the biggest rewards. I just want that to sink in for a minute. I remember a few years ago, I had this realization that the struggle and the frustration and the challenges, all of that we go through is in direct proportion to the blessings that are on the other hand, that are on the other side of that. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the blessing. And a lot of times we beat ourselves up and we want to fail, and we want to give up because we feel like we're failing, and we want to just throw in the towel, and we think we're a failure. But honestly, the greatest failure is giving up. That is the greatest failure, is deciding that you're going to stop moving towards your dreams and your goals and your aspirations. And I know you might be asking, well, what about that saying? That one that says doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity. That is something very valid, because here's the thing about failure. When I say if you feel stuck and you're doing, these things, and you still have your dream and you still have your vision and you're looking towards it and you're trying to move towards it and it's like nothing's happening for you, that quote is very important, because that quote reminds us to take a look at our strategy. That quote reminds us to take a look at what we're doing, what are the things that are working, what are the things that aren't working, and how can we change it? How can we shift it? How can we make it different? Sometimes all we need to do is pivot. 2020 was the year of the pivot. So many people pivoted in 2020 because it was a crazy year for so many. And in that pivot, a lot of people found a greater purpose. In that pivot, a lot of people found more significance. In that pivot, a lot of people really came to terms with where they were and asked themselves, am I really where I want to be? And from that, they were able to make that decision to take steps towards what they really wanted out of life. Because a lot of us fail in our minds before we fail in our actions. I know I've been there at a job where I really didn't want to be there, and there were so many other opportunities I could have pursued, but I was just stuck in my mind. I was trapped in my mind. I created a box within my mind, and I put myself in that box, and I locked myself in there. And it wasn't until it got too unbearable that I said, you know what? I can't be here anymore. I can't do this anymore. I know that there is greater out there for me. I made that decision that I was not going to give up. I made that decision that although I was struggling, although I was in a frustrating place, although I was faced with so many challenges and it felt like nothing was working out, that I was going to bet on myself and I was going to step outside of that comfort zone. I was going to step out of that cave in that box that I created within myself. And it's not easy. It is not easy to make that transition. It is not easy to make that change. And oftentimes when we're going through it and we're looking at our life and we're like, man, I'm not where I need to be. And it feels like the walls are falling down around us. In those moments when we feel like a failure, I really want to encourage you to shift your perspective. Because sometimes the things that you think are happening that are hindering your progress, that are preventing you from getting to your next level and your next chapter, are the things that are putting you in position to be able to reach those goals and those dreams. Because I strongly believe in the power of synchronicity and alignment. And once you get into that alignment, no matter how many times you feel like you've been failing or struggling along the way, sometimes those situations bring you right to the point, to the place that you need to be, to learn what you need to learn, to connect with who you need to connect with. So that way you can move forward. So I just really want to encourage you and remind you that every single thing that you're going through, it's not happening to you because you don't deserve something greater. It's not happening to you because you're not good enough. It's not happening to you because you're not worthy. It's not happening to you because you should just give up. It's happening for you. It's happening to put you in the right position, to put you in the right frame of mind, to be able to do something that you've never done, to get somewhere that you've never been before. So I really encourage you today, as you're listening to this podcast, to dig deeper and unpack what failure really means to you. Because what I've discovered when I was really going through it and being stressed out about being a failure and feeling like a failure in that conversation I had with my mom, was I wasn't even so concerned in the sense of what I had accomplished up to that point. That's not where I felt I was failing. I was more frustrated with the results on the other end. But then I realized that what I was going through was preparing me to get into the position to get the results that I needed on the other end. Where I was and what I was doing and the obstacles I was being faced with were definitely meant there. They were definitely there to build me. They were definitely meant for me to reconsider where I was and take a look around and to question if I was in alignment, if I was doing the right things, if those were the best ways to be using my time and maximizing my potential. And it put me in a position to go over my vision again, which I've touched on in earlier episodes, how you can reassess your vision at any time. And it's important to reassess your vision, because feeling like a failure in that moment when I realized it was me thinking about what hadn't happened yet. It was me being concerned with the outward appearance of what people were going to think, when ultimately the only thing that matters is what you think about yourself. The only thing that matters is your commitment to your dreams, your commitment to your vision, and you being able to recognize what is working and what isn't working, and doing the work to shift that. And taking that control within your own hands in the sense of doing the work, meditating, getting into alignment, praying, asking God, like, what's next? And then not waiting for God to just show up and be like, rain solutions out of the sky. Sometimes that does happen, but it's all about taking that inspired action. It's all about tapping into your intuition. It's all about trusting that inner guidance and recognizing that it's not about us at the end of the day, and that failure is truly a stepping stone to success. Failure is really just a lesson in disguise, and the only true failure is when you decide to give up. So that's all I got for you today in this episode. I hope it blessed your heart, and I'm really curious to know how you see failure. How do you view failure? And how you viewed it before you started listening to this episode, and how you view it now that this episode is over. So I hope that this blessed you. And I just want to encourage you to keep moving towards your dreams. I love you. I appreciate you. Definitely come over to Instagram, vibe with me there, or head over to my website, www.enticethebrand.com. The Queen Klass is relaunching. The lifestyle design program, one-on-one mentorship program is relaunching. And there's always so many other ways that you can connect with me and that we can work together. So I'm very, very excited to be able to connect with you one day soon. So thanks so much for your love, for your support, and for tuning in. And I will see you soon in a new episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Champagne Diamonds. I look forward to seeing you again in the next one.